The New York Islanders stay alive with a 3-2 double overtime win over the Carolina Hurricanes. We will break down this game, tell you how they did it and what it'll take to extend the series again. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome everybody to the special bonus episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can send us an email to lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season, in fact, all year long. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. So much to discuss right now, but the bottom line is the New York Islanders are alive. Down 3-0. Game 4, facing elimination at home. They come up with a big win just a minute and 24 seconds into double overtime. Mathew Barzal deflects a shot by Robert Bortuzzo into the back of the net, and the Islanders end up with a 3-2 win. Now they're still down in the series 3-1, but clearly, the Islanders' season could have ended Saturday afternoon at home, and instead they go back to Raleigh for Game 5, and that'll be Tuesday night at 7:30. And how did the Islanders do this? And quite honestly, it's a fine line for this team because, and everydayers, we've discussed this on the show. Clearly, playing the Carolina Hurricanes and the style that they play is very difficult for the Islanders because the Hurricanes' strengths really kind of line up with the Islanders' weaknesses a little too closely, I might add. And, the Hurricanes do a great job of pressuring the puck carrier. They have more team speed than the Islanders. They're very positionally sound. They have more high skill players than the Islanders do. It's a difficult matchup. And Frederik Andersen, let's face it, he has been outstanding throughout this series and really down the stretch as well for the Hurricanes. So in order to beat Carolina, the Islanders either have to play a near perfect game or the Hurricanes really have to be struggling. You could get a combination of both, obviously, but those are the things that you're looking for. And the Islanders did what they had to do in this game, especially 5-on-5. That was the big difference because realistically, this game lasted, 81 minutes and 24 seconds. And in those 81 minutes and 24 seconds, the Carolina Hurricanes did not score an even strength goal. And that says a lot about the discipline that the New York Islanders had defensively. That was for sure encouraging for the New York Islanders to hold Carolina without a goal 5-on-5. And, not just through 3 periods, but through a little more than 4 periods. And, you needed that. You also needed, in order to win this hockey game, you needed strong goaltending. And you got that from Semyon Varlamov, Patrick Waugh going back to Varley to start game 4. And it had to be this way. I am a big Ilya Sorokin fan. I still believe Ilya Sorokin is the long-term answer for the New York Islanders in goal, assuming he can get his confidence back. And if he's playing hurt, which we don't know and won't know until after this playoff run is over, if he's playing hurt, he's got to get healthy again. If it's more psychological or just sheer exhaustion, he's got to rest up and he's got to recover mentally to get his confidence back and just feel better. Next year, hopefully, we see the same Ilya Sorokin we saw last year. But right here, right now, in this series against Carolina, the goaltender is Semyon Varlamov, and Varley, 42 saves in 44 shots on goal, a .955 save percentage. And again, it's not just the number of saves, it's the timing of the saves, it's the situations. Do you bail your players out when they make a mistake? We definitely saw Varley do that in game 4, and it was huge for the New York Islanders to get that kind of clutch goaltending. Quite honestly, had they gotten better goaltending from the opening faceoff in game 3, this series could have been tied quite easily because the Islanders were the better team in game 3 for most of that game. Had the Islanders, now look, you can make up excuses, and excuses are for losers. Had the Islanders cashed in on their scoring chances in game 1, had the Islanders not, had they done a better job of holding a lead and not gone into a shell in game 2, you could always say what if, but at the end of the day, either you get it done or you don't get it done. Well, Varley and the Islanders got it done in game 4, and it wasn't easy. The other thing the Islanders did super well in this game, that again, I think it gets overlooked, but it's important, and that is winning in the faceoff circle. Start with J.G. Pageau, who had a goal in this game and then won 19 out of 23 faceoffs that he took, an 83% faceoff win percentage. Bo Horvat winning 15 of 23, a 65%. And even Kyle McLean, he only took 8 draws. He won 5 of them. That's a 63% win rate. You win faceoffs, you get possession of the puck, and against a quality opponent like the Carolina Hurricanes, that is something you have to get. One other thing you need to do if you're the Islanders and you want to, again, go toe-to-toe with an elite team like the Carolina Hurricanes, your best players have to be your best players. And so many viewers and listeners have been complaining, where is Bo Horvat? Where is Mathew Barzal? Why aren't we getting more from Brock Nelson? You go down the list. Noah Dobson needs to play better. And you guys were spot on. There was no doubt that those were issues for the New York Islanders. But in this game, Mathew Barzal, 2 goals, 2 assists for Bo Horvat, both of them +2 in this game. All of a sudden, you're getting 6 shots on goal from Kyle Palmieri. That leads the team. You're getting an assist from Noah Dobson in this game. You're getting more from some of the players you're counting on to come through. And just to add a little juice to all this, the Islanders get all of this done with Cal Clutterbuck being sidelined for part of the game, only played 7 minutes, 2 seconds. And then, what does that mean? Well, Ruslan Iskhakov, who stepped in when Matt Martin could not go, he only played 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 58 seconds in this game. Did not register a shot, wasn't on goal, on the ice for a plus or a minus. Either way, blocked one shot, didn't have any hits. 6 minutes, 8 shifts. He looked fine out there. Not going to say he was a big factor playing 6 minutes in an 81.5-minute game. But, I guess, again, the Islanders with the season on the line, they'll put him in the lineup, but they are kind of slow to trust him. But Iskhakov getting his first playoff action, and in the limited amount of time he was on the ice, he did not look out of place. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We will talk about the goaltending. We will talk a little bit about some of the issues the Islanders still need to clean up, and they are indeed there. Plus, we'll have our hero and go to the game. And, oh, yes, for this bonus episode, our Islanders' birthday of the day, a defensive forward who spent one full season and part of another with the Islanders. Also briefly played for the Rangers. We'll see if you can guess who that is. He was an Islander in the very late 1990s. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? Well, if you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. So, join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to get great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So there are still some problems that the Islanders need to clean up. And let's start with, what was going on early on. And that is, first period, Islanders come out of the box playing pretty well, had their opportunities, could not finish. Now, part of that is obviously because Frederik Andersen is just playing very good hockey right now, and he made 32 saves in this game, facing 35 shots. You give Andersen his props, although he wasn't as good in this game as he was in Game 3. But again, all credit to Frederik Andersen and to a Carolina Hurricanes team and Coach Rod Brind'Amour. They play very smart, disciplined, defensive hockey most of the time. But the Islanders, again, are a team that kind of struggles to convert when they get those opportunities. And obviously that was an issue again, especially in the first two periods. Perhaps the bigger issue, though, remains this. The New York Islanders need to stay out of the penalty box because the PK remains dreadful. Anders Lee called for a trip in the first period. Noah Dobson called for a slash in the second, a cross check in the third. you can't have that. And then a hooking call on Robert Bortuzzo with about 6.5 minutes left in the game. All of these things leading to power play chances for Carolina. And guess what? Twice they cashed in on these power play opportunities. So for the New York Islanders, staying out of the penalty box is a necessity because let's face it, the PK remains a major liability. It was last in the NHL during the regular season. And while they did kill a couple of power plays in this game, it is still not a long-term recipe for success if you're giving up 2 power play goals in a playoff game. Now, fortunately, you got 1 power play goal yourself, and that was the goal by J.G. Pageau that put the Islanders up 2-1 early in the third. But then again, we saw a similar problem, and that is not being able to hold a lead. And you give up that second power play goal with 5:52 left in regulation, and you end up going to overtime. So, got to stay out of the box and got to find a way to make the penalty kill better. And I don't think there's any magic wand that this team is going to wave. It's never going to be like you're not going to sit there and say, yeah, this penalty kill is a strength of this team, but at least it doesn't have to be such a big liability. And you look at the talent that they have. Guys like Cal Clutterbuck and Casey Cizikas and J.G. Pageau. These are experienced penalty killers. Ryan Polak, Adam Pelech, Robert Bortuzzo. These are guys who have, Alexander Romanov, these are players who have spent years in the NHL killing penalties, and yet they are struggling big time to get it done now. Last year, with very similar players on the PK and the same defensive coaching staff, special teams coaching staff, they were good on the PK. It remains a big issue for the New York Islanders, and if they don't get better at it, obviously, again, there's no margin for error. Still got to win 3 in a row to advance to the next round. So the Islanders just have to find a way right now to get that done. Couple of little notes. Adam Pelech, 6 hits and 6 blocked shots. Add an assist for Pelech. He and Ryan Polak have struggled as a defensive pair, at least compared to where they were a few years back. But at the same time, Pelech very involved in this game in the way he played. Polak had 4 block shots. So did Robert Bortuzzo. And, considering he only played 14.5 minutes of this game, pretty impressive that he did that. And, oh, by the way, the assist in this game, Robert Bortuzzo, who, assisted on the game-winning goal, his first point as an Islander, played 23 games during the regular season, no goals, no assists, and this is his first point, playoffs or regular season, in a New York Islanders uniform. And boy, it couldn't have come at a better time for the New York Islanders, who are now still alive and heading back to Carolina for Game 5 on Tuesday. And boy, it really is a relief that this team did not get swept, and that, okay, it's a faint pulse, but there is still a pulse on this team, and they still have a chance to pull off a win in Carolina and bring the series back home for a Game 6. They did it last year. Let's see if they can at least match that and get to a Game 6, which really would change the momentum if they could find a way to do it. We have got more to get to on this special bonus edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We'll have our hero and GOAT of the game. We'll talk a little bit about what this team needs to do in Game 5, and we'll have our Islanders' birthday of the day. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win, but that's when you dig deep, lift up your head, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. You could play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards, make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, or charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb that leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So, hero and GOAT of the game. You got some candidates out there. Obviously, I think Semyon Varlamov is a candidate with the 42 saves, kept this team in the game, kept them alive long enough for them to get the game winner. JG Pajot, go-ahead goal. We talked about the face-off statistics. You could talk about Adam Pelech with his assists, 6 hits, 6 block shots. Robert Bortuzzo, his first point as an Islander. But to me, the hero of the game has got to be Mathew Barzal. 2 goals, including the very clutch double overtime game winner. And that is huge for this team. You know, your best players have to be your best players if you're going to win. Well, for the New York Islanders, Mathew Barzal is supposed to be one of their best players. And on this night, he got the job done. So he is our hero of the game. Go to the game. Could it be anything other than the penalty kill? And I know this sounds like a broken record every day, as you know how long it's been a problem for the PK. But, you know, when you give up 2 goals and both of them are on the power play for the other team, you know there is a problem here, and the PK remains the biggest issue for this team. Before the game, Patrick Waugh had said that the Islanders, you know, Matt Martin, who was not able to go, would have been in the lineup if he were healthy. Well, he wasn't healthy enough, so he's not in. I get the feeling Tuesday that if Matt Martin is ready to go, and the extra day off certainly could help, he'll be back in the lineup instead of Ruslan Iskhakov. I'm not saying that's what I would do, but clearly, that is the way this team and this organization thinks. They are slow to trust young players. We've seen it with Oliver Wahlstrom. We've seen it with Ruslan Iskhakov. We saw it with Samuel Bolduc. And in this clutch playoff situation, they are going to turn to the veteran whenever possible. By the way, Varlamov with the win on his birthday, and the biggest time in this game, probably the first overtime, Islanders outshot 17-9, but he made 17 saves, and you know the Islanders were kind of on their heels in that part of the game, and that's a part of the problem, but that's when you need your goalie to come up big, and boy, did he. And you got to be very, very thankful for that. And now the Islanders face a situation where, again, they have nothing to lose. They got to go on the road. They've got to play a similar style, limit the chances and the speed coming into the zone that you have from the Carolina Hurricanes, and please, please, please stay out of the darn penalty box. It is a huge, huge problem for the New York Islanders, one they need to work on big time. And, we'll discuss more things about Game 5 as we get closer to it. But what a big win to keep the season alive for the New York Islanders. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And Sunday is the 55th birthday of former Islanders winger Ted Donato. The Boston, Massachusetts native was drafted by his hometown Bruins in the 5th round of the 1987 draft, spent 4 years at Harvard before making his NHL debut with the Bruins in 1991-92. Joined the Islanders early in the 98-99 season, played 55 games for the Isles, 7 goals, 18 points, and 27 penalty minutes. Donato, more of a two-way checking forward, also played 1 game for the Isles in 2001-2002. Played also for Ottawa, Anaheim, Dallas, LA, St. Louis, briefly for the Rangers, and then finished his career with the Bruins in 03-04. Ted Donato, 796 career NHL games, 150 goals, 347 points, and 396 penalty minutes. Add 8 goals and 18 points in 58 playoff games for Ted Donato, although he never did win that elusive Stanley Cup. One of his better games with the Isles, how about December 17th, 1998, the Islanders traveling to the Great Western Forum, a.k.a. the Fabulous Forum in Inglewood, California, taking on the LA Kings. Tommy Salo, the goalie for the Islanders, Jamie Storr in between the pipes for the Kings. And with the Islanders down 2-1 early in the second period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Ted Donato, scores his 4th goal of the year. Mariusz Czerkowski and Rob Reichel with the assist. That tied it at 2. And then after the Islanders fell behind 3-2, Donato goes to work again, this time on the power play. Mike Watt and Mariusz Czerkowski with the assist. Islanders win this one in overtime, 5-4 on a goal by Brian Berard. But for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Ted Donato, 2 goals on 4 shots on goal. He was a +2 and had 1 even strength goal and 1 on the power play in 15 minutes and 12 seconds of action. So Boston native Ted Donato, 55 years old on Sunday. He is our bonus episode Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we'll be back tomorrow with our regular Sunday night / Monday morning show to talk a little bit more about where this team is at and what it'll take to continue to stay alive and prolong this series. It gets harder in Raleigh, but it's not impossible. Make sure you join us for that. We'll also have the latest injury updates on Matt Martin. Enjoy the rest of the weekend, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.